All right, so we got an action-packed day here. Jim, we'll start off with you. Anything from the CEO chair and wins of the week. We'll go to Michelle. Michelle's got a whole host of stuff to share. Really, really awesome graphic of all the great stuff the marketing teams put together. And I know she's going to spend some time on that. Jim, you wanted to spend some time on all the assets and stuff that Amy and Michelle are doing. And then Leron, are we ready to talk a little bit about the 2.0 today?
Yes, we are.
All right. And looking very dapper, Leron. I might add, like, almost politician-like. Is it the season? But you're looking good, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And then we'll get into some tidbits I have from the week. We had Bo Bullock on the cyber call. We had some interesting stuff there. We had some interesting findings in the Verizon DBIR, which and Jim, we are going to see if Mike Puglia comes on the cyber call Monday. But Gary, what we're going to talk about, the folks at Core Intelligent brought up a good point about, like, say a 365 or they just said any platform in general about third-party risk management. And, so we're going to look at, combining all your eggs in one basket, what's good, what's about it. And then the following week, shameless plug here, we will have Verizon on for the Verizon DBIR. So with that, Jim, let's take it away and see if we got any good wins out there. Or do you have anything first, I should ask?
Well, I want to open it up first just to find out who's got what.
Yeah. Anybody got some good stuff for us this week?
Yeah, we actually had one this week. We had a problem employee at a law firm client. They received an email, phishing email. It had the giant banner on it. This is probably phishing. Don't click on this. And the chief administrative person in the office sent out a message to everybody that, like, nobody click on this. But the guy did, logged into 365 and gave us credentials. And then we were able to stop it within minutes. It was a login from Russia and stop it. And so that was a pretty big win. Nice. Show them the value of the product. Yeah.
That's a great win.
Awesome. Good stuff, Ann.
That's awesome. Sharing. Can I show a slide regarding that, Jim? We'll talk about it later, but
yeah, please.
And just too funny. This comes from the Verizon DBIR. Every year they'll do a test, right? With a large scale group. And it's just interesting. It's like, they might have put that announcement out, but it's just fascinating that time to click and time to enter creds is less than a minute for somebody that falls for phishing. Now this is your mean, right? This isn't the really fast typers. This is the mean data set.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's less than half a second.
Right. Like, look at these, the outliers, right? And here are the slower, folks out here.
Yeah.
All right, Jim, back to some other wins. Ann, thanks for sharing that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Wow.
Hey, Andrew, can you go back to that for 1 second?
I can.
So the widest outlier is 80 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah. They're probably using different symbols for password 1, 2, 3.
Or Jim, in this, maybe they or time to click, who knows, they got stopped. Maybe their protection stopped them. We're like, that's wrong. Let me go there again.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you sure you want to do this? Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, there was, I don't know if it was discussed, maybe I heard it from here, so apologies if this is a repeat, but the Proofpoint report had statistics on, like, 80% of people confessed to doing risky behavior, cybersecurity behavior at work, and 96% of them did it knowingly. And then of that, 2.5% said that, they clicked on something, did something they know they weren't supposed to do just out of curiosity. Like, and I thought that, you could do all the security training in the world and you got somebody out there like, I wonder what's going to happen if I do this. Like,
wow.
I just thought that was precious.
Yeah, seriously, which also speaks to why people need to cover their SaaS, right?
Yeah.
Every time I'm looking at my lawnmower blades going around, I just wonder what would happen if I put my finger.
That's great. That's great, Chip. Telling someone not to. Yeah, exactly, Ben. Other wins. Anybody else have something that happened this week? And it doesn't even have to. By the way, is Enrique back yet?
I checked, Andrew. It's the first thing I did when we got to this section because I'm dying to follow up with him, but I didn't see him on in the list.
I know, darn it. It would be great to. So the reason I mentioned Enrique is his wasn't SaaS alerts related, but it was. I do know that he's followed up on some stuff, meaning from an IR perspective, and so I hope things are going well there for his client. All right. Well, I think
So Andrew, I'll just share. So, at Connect last week, we had a lot of partners come up to us and talk about things that they've caught with SaaS alerts. So it's always awesome. That's always awesome to hear. And then one of the things that really, but you expect that when you're at an event, right? You have partners and they come up and whatever. But I'm getting on the plane to come back home. This is literally almost exactly a week ago at this time. And surprisingly enough, I'm wearing some SaaS alerts gear. And I'm board the plane, and literally the first guy in the first seat on the plane puts his hand way up and says, "High five, Jim." And I'd never seen him before. I didn't recognize him. And he said, "We're a SaaS alerts MSP, and we love the product and what it does for us." And that was really cool because, again, you expect that at an event because there's a whole collection of MSPs, but it's never happened to me, um, out of that type of environment. So that was pretty cool on the plane. I know it's happened to Chip. Chip was wearing his T-shirt at like a Grateful Dead show once
In Philly, yeah.
And
I was
someone
wearing the red
stopped him.
SaaS Alert salsa T-shirt. Walking in the concourse buying a beer, and some guy walked up to me who was an MSP from Philly.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll share really quick. I know time is of the essence. We're all MSPs here, and even if you get a false positive, that works in our favor because the customer then knows that we are keeping an eye on things. And I've had customers reach out and say, "Hey, thank you, man. It was a false positive," but they were like, "Thank you. I didn't know you guys were watching this." And people use VPNs and all kinds of stuff. So even a false positive is good for us.
Nadeem, thank you for weighing in. I think that is something that goes unsaid too often because as a former MSP myself, I know like most of what we do as MSPs, right, is below the line of visibility to the customer. So they don't even really sometimes realize what they're paying for. So when you have the opportunity to let them know what you're seeing, they now know, okay, you know what, these guys are on top of it. Like I picked the right company. So thank you for sharing that.
It's really good point, Jim. Again, we all live in our own worlds. The accounting firm they're not going, "Oh, I know my MSP is doing all this incredible stuff for me today." It's not what they do.
Exactly. They'll be nice.
Yeah, it will
That's
be
not what they
nice.
do.
Yeah. All right. Should we move on, Jim? Any other
Yes.
things? All right. Michelle, I'm going to turn it over to you, but I thought this was awesome. All the goodies that you and the team have worked on. So with that, let me stop sharing and I'll let you take the reins here.
Yeah. When Michelle's bringing up her screen, I just want to say kind of what inspired this for me last week. So many folks that are existing partners, they will say, "Oh, can you create this or do you have that from a marketing material perspective?" And generally the answer always is yes, because we've already done it. So I want to make sure everybody knows what our market team, has already created for your benefit that you can be using with your customers. So with that, Michelle, please take it away.
Well, can someone page Andy first so we don't have to redo this?
Andy's here. I was actually just chatting with him.
Where's Andy?
Andy's here. So I'm actually going to share through our channel program because this is really the best place to see everything we have. If you need it, it's there. You can click right through. You can see everything you need. So that would be my recommendation if you're looking for our materials. Beyond that, you can absolutely get in touch with your account manager. But we have a lot, and I don't know that you guys were using it. I did talk to a couple people last week at Connect, and they had no idea about some of these things. So we just want to make sure you know these are available to you, and you can brand them, you can use them as much as you want. So we have the Microsoft Plus plans and security plans. I think you guys have probably seen these before. These are a few years old, but they're still relevant, so use them. The Google Workspace security plan, and we're probably going to make updates to this, right, Jim?
Yeah.
Because we're going to have some changes
For
coming
Respond,
up.
you mean? Yeah.
For Respond, yep, exactly. And then we have a slide deck, a brandable slide deck you can use. You can pop your logo in. It just will help you, pitch to prospects, sell services to clients, that sort of thing. This is a newer one, why you should care about cybersecurity. It's just a one-pager breaking out different scenarios that you can explain to prospects and clients on why cybersecurity is really necessary these days. Then we have a co-managed IT services one-pager, just explaining the benefits of that, working with their internal IT team. Let's see what else. This one is, I think this one's about Microsoft. This one's a little older. Scaling Microsoft and just showing them you guys can't protect Microsoft on your own. It's impossible. There's too much going on in there, and it's not realistic. This is a newer one, this session token hijacking and BEC data sheet. We've shared this a lot. People find it really useful. I think I've shared it on here as well, and definitely on our Discord server, but it is in channel program now as well. This is the coverage extension notification, which I think you guys are probably all familiar with. Jim talks about it in his SaaSonomics presentation. So that's a really helpful one to have if you want to increase your MRR. Then we have our SaaS security information sheet. It's just a generic sheet. Oh, there's Enrique. We have it's just a generic information sheet on SaaS security. It doesn't have SaaS alerts on it. You can definitely put your logo on that as well. And then the FTC standards guide is more for you. I'm not sure why that's in here. Some things got moved around. I apologize. And then this Microsoft 365 versus SaaS alerts. I'm not sure if that is a branded one. I need to check on that. Some of these got shifted around when they did some work in here, so I'm going to check on that. But these are all available to you. Like I said, ask your account manager or go in here. Jim, do you have anything you want to add about these?
I would just recommend that people use them.
Yes.
We build them for a reason, and we've created, we have it in channel program, make it really easy to leverage. So, with that, and we get great feedback from the people that do use them, right? They work really well.
Yeah.
So they're here for you. Please take advantage of them. Michelle, we had a question. So from a PDF perspective, these are all in PDF format, correct?
Except for the presentation that's in PowerPoint.
Is it possible for folks to be able to, when they download them, to tweak them themselves?
They should be able to. I mean, it depends. If you have the full version of Acrobat, you definitely can. If you need help popping a logo in, only people on this call, you can email me and I'll throw it up for you. Special for Sassy Call members. But yeah, you should be able to. And if you need the file, I'm happy to share it as well.
Yeah, I'll add that if you download the free version of Canva, you can make really small tweaks to copy. You can drop logos in. I don't have the full Adobe suite. Michelle is our graphic design genius here on the team, but when she's been out or unavailable, I've been able to make small changes on the fly to PDFs by using Canva.
Yeah.
So Michelle, did you see Adam's note from the UK?
I did.
And do you think,
yeah.
I was gonna say, Adam, do you think, like
I might need to get in touch with you, Adam, just so I know that I'm putting use in like words like color and stuff like that. But yeah,
Adam, do you think
chat about that.
do you think you could, I don't know, just throw it through an AI tool or something, or look at it and give it back to Michelle on how you want it to look?
Yeah, I mean, it was just because obviously the formatting of the documents makes it hard to kind of reproduce it manually.
Right.
But yeah, it's words like unauthorized has got a Z in the US spelling, but it's an S in the UK spelling. You know, just basic things. It's not a big deal.
No,
People,
but I mean,
No,
you
but
know,
it's
we
still
want
a
it to
cult.
make sense for you. Yeah, absolutely. I'll be in touch with you about that.
Yeah.
And then we'll get a UK version of everything.
Yeah. I mean, look, I could understand you're from the UK. You don't want your UK customers thinking that you're getting an American service necessarily, right? It's
yeah,
you.
or just that we can't spell.
Well, we can't speak to that.
No.
Yeah, we'll definitely we'll talk about that and we'll get that all situated for you. No problem.
Yes.
And that being said, we haven't done a poll in a really long time, so I had to make one. We're overdue. So this one is just basically a couple of different marketing collateral ideas that we have kicking around, and we want to get to all of them, but we would love your feedback in terms of priorities. So if you could rank them 1 through 4, let me make sure that came up. Okay. In terms of which one is more of an immediate need for you, or you're more interested in, or you'd really like to see sooner rather than later, that would be fantastic. The first one is a cost of a data breach 1-pager, just talking about the implications and what that looks like in terms of how much it costs. A live token hijacking video that you can brand. So Ben will do one of his live token hijackings, but we'll keep SaaS alerts out of it. And then an email marketing campaign template that you can use. It'll have all the copy ready for you. It'll be a series of emails. I'm not sure how many. We'll have to talk about that, maybe 3. And then a social media campaign and a webinar in a box, which we've done for another partner, which is basically, we're going to write all the copy for you for the landing page, the email, social media, the entire campaign. So you could see people are filling it out, which is excellent. Thank you.
Hey, Enrique's here now, guys.
He is, yes. I love him.
Enrique, is there any chance you could give us an update?
Oh, on my beautiful event. Well, 2 machines did get touched. I don't know. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So two machines did get touched by, I imagine, the server. Been working very closely with hunters. We have another call tomorrow because they never saw anything. So one of the 2 machines had encrypted files on the USB drive, but both of them had ransomware notes in different folders. But only one of them had some encrypted files. And yeah, that's kind of, we talked to the attorneys, we talked to the guys out of Austin as well. Thank you very much. They gave me the Andrew special discount. So yeah, very knowledgeable and nice people. So I kind of took off once we did the introductory and stuff. I took off the hands-off approach and let them deal directly with the firm on that matter and just get reported back. But yeah, we're still trying to decipher how come nothing was seen on the EDR. I imagine because nothing malicious was happening. They were probably writing with the credentials, so there was really no malicious activity for the EDR to pick up.
Right. All right. And good for you, Enrique, stepping back. That's going to give you a lot of insulation. God forbid the company decides to, say it's you, right? So good. That was smart.
Well, thanks to you guys for telling me. Not, I would probably been stuck in the middle of it. So
No, it was a really good idea that you did. All right. Michelle, what are our results?
Can everyone see that? Oh no, I gotta share. Here we go. It's been a while.
Oh, there we go.
All right. So, okay, so it looks like, I don't know how to read this. Cost of a data breach
Yep.
and live token hijacking video are the top 2. So good to know. Okay. Perfect. And that's the order I had them in. So that's great.
That's great. Great job, Michelle. I know we're going to Liron, but again, Chip, I just have to throw this in here because token hijacking, although it's similar, this just out this week that modern authentication and really cool to see a lot of what you're doing to educate with session hijacking and things. And it's interesting how threat actors keep evolving, right? It's what you're showing, it's what you're seeing. So this was just written up, and I have the full URL to share with everybody. So I just wanted to show that.
Yeah, look, it's interesting, Andrew, because the kits that that we use, that Ben uses internally to do our demos, don't yet support pass keys and YubiKeys. Getting around those, they don't know how to prompt for that. But we'll modify that on our own and get past that, and other people are obviously doing it. So, in the end, hackers are always going to find a way. If you log in, doesn't matter how you authenticate, how secure that process is. If you have an attack in the middle going on, they're going to get the token.
Yes, very, very true. Well, okay. Well, cool. Liron, you are, let me see what this message is. Is someone's committee? Yeah, absolutely, Nadeem. Liron, are you with us, sir?
Yes, I'm going to be sharing my screen. Can you guys see phase 2?
We can.
Yes.
All right, thanks.
This was super exciting, by the way. Liron showed me yesterday.
Good. Well, if Jim's excited, then hopefully that just carries on through here.
Yeah, and I want to preamble that a lot of this, a lot of what you're going to see comes from feedback from this group and some of our other partners. So, as usual, we really take seriously what you guys say to us. This is a huge change with a lot of both front end and back end development required, but we appreciate your feedback, and this is how it gets used. Take it away, Liron.
Yeah, thanks. And it's a lot of partner conversations. It's our sales and account management team asking for these things. It's the community board. It's all of that feedback making its way to us. And it's very challenging to prioritize because we want to do everything for you guys. But unfortunately, we don't have unlimited resources. So we have to prioritize. And the first thing to note is whitelisting 2.0 is now trusted locations. This name is not finalized yet, but you'll see me refer to that. And then the other important thing to note is that this is very much a work in progress. When we built Fortify and Respond, some of you guys may have been there for those initial reveals and given us a lot of feedback and have helped us make those products successful. So with that same exact process, I want to show you guys the next iteration of whitelisting, now trusted locations. So today, in order to edit whitelisted locations, you have to go either to the organization screen to edit that here, or you go to the organization screen, you click the accounts, and now you can edit that in here. So in speaking to many of you, what we've learned is we want to be able to do this within the existing workflow. So that means when you are reviewing critical alerts, we're going to do a couple things. First thing we'll do is when you click the magnifying glass here, we're going to add a new tab here called Trusted Locations. And I'll talk a little bit, I'll get into it, but we have these checkboxes. You'll notice those. So now I'm going to click on Trusted Locations here. And I have this tab, and it's showing me, right? I'm looking at an outside approved location event. It's showing me this account's trusted locations, and it's telling me that it's inherited from either the user, right, user@email.com, or the organization. And I can see the rules. And we're also introducing this new concept of a schedule, and I'll show you exactly what this means too. So same thing from the analyze screen, except this time, rather than click the magnifying glass, notice that we've added this icon with a shield and a plus. Not final, this icon either, but let's say that's what it is. I'm going to click on that because I see that I have an event from Dublin, Ireland, Microsoft Corporation, outside approved location. This is like the classic example of a company in France, their data is pinging the Microsoft Dublin data center. all day, every day, and it is throwing outside approved locations, and it is driving you guys crazy, and that drives us crazy. So what we're going to do is we're going to click the plus icon here to add trusted locations. And what that will do is it will open up that tab I showed you before, except we're going to pre-check some things for you. We're going to pre-check Ireland, Dublin, and Microsoft Corporation. And on my own initiative, I'm going to check the ASN code here as well. And on the bottom, we're going to add this dropdown, which is add to account trusted locations. And then I'm going to say next. Right, so the whole idea is within the workflow, you see this alert, you know that this user is pinging off of the Microsoft data center because they're in France. Then you just click this. These things are pre-clicked for you. I'm going to click the ASN code on my own, drop down, add to trusted locations, say next. And now we're going to end up in a new modal to handle trusted locations. So what it's going to do is all those checkbox items that you clicked on the other screen are going to be carried on here. So it's going to say always on, country is Ireland, and city, I have this, it says contains, it does not contain for our development team, so they know what operators I want in here, but city should say is Dublin, ASN name is Microsoft, and the ASN itself is AS8075. So when I do this, that means that any event that comes in and meets this condition will no longer generate an outside approved location. If I want to, because I know I have a few other folks who meet the same criteria, maybe I know I have a couple of other people in the office in France, I could add some additional accounts to this rule. And you'll notice that this should look a little bit familiar. If you've created respond rules, you can add a groups of and, you can add an and logic here. I can remove these, and then I can add or groups. So you'll notice that in this case, country is US, or country is Ireland, and city is Dublin, and IP ASN name contains Microsoft, and ASN is the code. So that's one example to lower the noise on the worldwide Microsoft data center issue that we've seen before. Now, another common issue that you guys have brought up to us is, I know that we have an account, a user that is going to travel. And interestingly enough, sometimes you may know ahead of time as an MSP. So if we know, whether it doesn't really matter from our system standpoint, whether it's ahead of time or you're reacting to it, if you get a user, let's say we get a user who threw an event out of India, and whether you knew ahead of time that this person is traveling to India, or you looked into it, you called a POC over at the customer and said, hey, I have a person in India. Is that okay or not okay? And they tell you it's okay. So what you would do is you come in here, you click or from the event itself, just like I did this, except you would have India as the country here. And you would create a new rule that basically has a custom timeline associated with it. If you know this account is traveling to India from 5:15 to 5:31, you say custom, start 5:15, end 5:31, select India, we'll populate the time zone for you here. And now the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, you already have an active country rule for this date range. And this is the rule, right? And it's that Ireland rule I just made up above. So what do you want to do? You want to do both of these things simultaneously, or pause the conflicting rule until this one expires. So in this case, I know that this account is traveling to India. And so therefore, this no longer applies. So starting 5:15 IST, I want this to kick in. So when you click pause the conflicting rule, what we're going to do in the background is we're actually going to modify your Ireland, Dublin, Microsoft rule. And what we're going to do is we're going to set an end date on it of 5:14 and the IST time zone. And then we will start it back up on 6/1. So what this effectively does is allows you to go in, configure the whitelisting rule one time so that from 5:15 to 5/31, this India rule will be effective. After 5/31, it will expire. And starting on 6/1, you will resume this Ireland Dublin Microsoft rule. So that's one feature that has been very heavily asked for. And then the other thing I want to show you is we are now introducing the concept of a trusted location at the partner level. And the reason that we did this is because if you are, let's say, a US-based MSP or a UK-based MSP, and most of your customers are in one particular locale, you can set the trusted location as the US here. And so what that means is when you create a brand new organization, right, today, this is what it looks like. All right, so we're going to remove this whitelisting component. So you just say org name, click next, and then we'll take you to the customer name. And because you set US at the partner level, we'll pre-populate this US for you, which will save you, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds per organization. And if you don't want this here, you can X this, and it's a lot quicker, right, to X than hit the drop down and type in United States in order to populate this. And the same way that you can whitelist countries today, you'll be able to continue to do that. IPv4, IPv6, same exact thing. And then if you click and, we're going to give you additional properties. As of now, it's probably going to be the fields that we have available in Respond. So whatever you can filter on and Respond, we'll bring in here and allow you to set whitelisting rules based on that. I'm going to pause here and see if we have any questions.
A lot of claps and stuff, but let's start with questions. It was at UM.
Yeah, why? Seems like if somebody's, I could see if somebody's going to be in India, they're not going to be pinging Ireland. So, but why would it be conflicting? Wouldn't that just be an or because both are trusted locations?
Great question. So the reason that you would not want an or in that situation is because anything that were to ping off of Ireland while this person is in India would be allowed to come through. Let's say that you do not want that. Let's say that you know that India, it's going to, I think we talked about this today, the data center that pings India and Microsoft, I believe, into Singapore. So you may need to set up a rule similar to this Ireland rule, except in Singapore, but you wouldn't want them active simultaneously.
I mean, and you could have them both simultaneously active if you wanted to, but the notion is if you've got someone that you know is in India for 3 weeks, if their account is all of a sudden being used in Ireland, it's an indication of a problem.
Okay, so it's technically not conflicting. It's just if you
Correct.
know they're there, it's best security practice to shut off the other one.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
And we wanted to alert you that you're setting a rule that has 2 countries and 2 different rules. And that may be okay. That may be exactly what you want, right? You may have a person who lives half the year in one country and half the year in another. So you could kind of use the custom date ranges to handle that for you. So we just want to make you aware that that's a thing.
Leron, this is really well done, really well thought out. What's the
Timeline?
Yeah, you know, I'm
Yeah.
gonna get what everybody's thinking. What's your, I guess, alpha, beta kind of code timeline?
It's funny, after I showed this to Jim, that was the first question that he asked me too. So we are at the timeline for timeline stage, which means I am in the process of doing design reviews. I wanted to get through to show it to you guys to see if there were going to be any big major changes. And once we get it to a point where it's 95% design complete, then we'll get with our development team. My gut says Q3, but that's just my gut. It doesn't mean all that much.
Got it. Questions, other questions, comments? Adam, do we
Leron,
need
I've got a question.
Go ahead.
So Leron, are are you going to open these up to all of the fields available on the event initially, or are we focused only on country right off the bat and like IP stuff?
Good question. So initially what we want to do is to give you everything that we have inside of Respond. So if you go to Respond and you click on the event filter, I didn't have enough space to put them all on here like this, but whatever you see in the Respond filter dropdown, that's what we initially plan to put in here. But eventually we could do almost anything inside of the event. So if you had, hey, can you do Tor, for instance, like Tor equals true. That's something that we throw in the event. If you wanted that in here for some reason and had like a good use case for it, we could add that in here too, fairly quickly.
Ron, question, could you determine, have about browser rules? Like we only allow
Agent?
Chrome. Oh yeah. We only allow Chrome.
So in that case, what you could, so the events give us agent, right? And the agent is like Windows 11 version, whatever, and comma, like Chrome something. So the way that you would do that is you would say agent contains Google Chrome, right? You'd have to go through the data, see what the actual event contains, and then use that as a contains filter and then do Chrome or Google Chrome, however it appears.
Got it. So could it be doable, do you feel? Like, would that be a heavy lift?
The contains on the agent?
Yeah, so are you using the RMM agent when you say contains on the agent? Is that what you mean?
No, when Liron says agent, Andrew, the term agent is used by most of the SaaS products that we monitor to refer to the application that's accessing. So for instance, in the Microsoft universe, agent often looks like, it looks like Chrome, it looks like Safari, it looks like Firefox or Edge. It's really telling you what the browser is. Or if you're logging in from, a local version of Excel or Outlook or whatever, that becomes the agent. It's telling you the application resource that the user is using to connect to the resource on the Microsoft side.
Yeah, and Adam's kind of going where I was thinking, like the more, I kind of think about Talon that got bought by Palo, the more, again, not trying to give you more Liron here to start doing, but I think the more, Adam, if you're thinking where I'm thinking, like that this can air quote zero trust type your browser, right, to and device. It seems like we're heading in that direction. Am I right, Chip?
Yes, your instinct is definitely correct. I mean, you could create super narrow trusted location rules that are evaluating that data. If they were to throw an alert, you could use that rule you could pass that alert into Respond and boot the account out, and it literally becomes a different form of conditional access.
Almost to the degree, and am I going, like, one other question, Chip, but could you almost go to the degree of like, how things like Cisco Umbrella do, because it's, if everything's coming, through the, I'm trying to think this through, right? To trusted or untrusted locations or sites, I would imagine that could be a condition as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Remember, what you're effectively doing here is now getting hyper granular on what a trusted access is. So this is back to your zero trust notion. You could set up that Andrew Morgan is only allowed to log in from Tampa, Florida, with a Windows 11 device in Edge. You could get that granular. And if that gets violated, you can trigger a Respond rule that says Andrew just tried to log in with, a Chromebook from Miami, and we're gonna block his account, revoke his tokens, and change his password.
Well, that's where I think that in my opinion, Chip, keep skating toward that puck, because you guys are going to be unstoppable if you continue there.
Well, the thing is that, it gets to the point where it doesn't apply just to Microsoft. We'll be releasing Respond for Google shortly.
And
then it moves to other applications as well, to the extent that we can control them in the same way.
Yeah.
So it takes the notion of zero trust and conditional access rules and expands it, gives people a different way to manage it.
Real exciting. Really, really exciting. Great stuff. Steven. Come on, hang on. Steven, what do you mean? Can you come on just so I don't butcher what you're saying there?
Oh no, it's just great information. It kind of informs, more than just stopping an attacker. It can inform management on like maybe not following company policy, policy compliance. Maybe you're, not following the acceptable use, by using an approved browser, things like that. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
One customer wants to know when a mapped device goes outside a location, so they can, maybe not lock them down, but let them know, hey, you got to let us, got to notify IT, follow the policy. Yeah.
Chad, you've got some big school districts, right? Could this help in some of those instances with the faculty, or the faculty, you could start to put in better policy there? Do they, is the Chromebooks just at the kids, or in some of those large deployments, could you get into strict policy enforcement here with some of those big deployments? Chad?
I'll throw it out. If we have the user principal name, stuff like that really becomes possible, I think.
Were you
Yeah.
talking to me, Chad?
Yeah, well, I
I wasn't even in the room. Sorry. I don't know what we're talking about.
It sounded like a challenge.
Hey, Andrew, you caught a student outside the classroom writing a note to his girlfriend.
Chad, you missed the best thing. We just released the biggest Google, release yet of SaaS alerts.
I know.
Oh my
It's a
God.
shame.
We're out
One
of time,
time I
Chad.
miss a part of a meeting. I've been waiting for this for a year and a half.
The problem is only people that were actually here to listen to it and see it are getting it. That's a shame.
You know what? I deserve that.
I could give you mine for a small fee. I'm Microsoft.
Always the businessman. That's nice. Good. What was the question? Can I answer it quickly without any context?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're talking about basically getting into a zero trust via the browser.
Yeah.
Locking people down, like, hey, are they on a specific device, specific OS, or a specific, location, and only this type of browser. And so I was thinking, some of these large school districts that you work with that are such, targets right now, threat actors, where that could potentially be a good use case.
Yeah. Yes. And the way that you do that with Google would be enterprise browser and context-aware access. So there are some tools and possibly API hooks that SaaS alerts could monitor and look at too. There's a second layer to that. I do know, because I've been digging in a lot more with like some pretty serious developers and stuff talking about like Google and APIs, and I don't envy the job of the people that are trying to get hooked into Google, because they really hang on to their cards closely for what you're able to do. So I'm even looking at like LAMs, as an AI model to train the Google Admin Console UI to perform tasks for me, to standardize, because there's not really a way to hook into it. Unless you're enormous, I guess maybe they'd be willing to talk to you. But for the most part, if you're little old me, they're not really willing to do anything about it. So yeah,
Microsoft, they will.
Microsoft will give you access to everything because they claim no liability to anything you break or do. And they'll say, oh, actually, you know what? You should upgrade your license so that you can actually have the tool that would protect this thing that we're already selling you. But that's a whole other digression, right?
I was just kidding about that.
Yeah, I know.
All
Well,
right.
I mean, Chad's right in the sense that Google, if I compare our relationship to Microsoft, our relationship to Google, and as a developer that's in the ecosystem, it is 10 times harder for us to do anything with Google. Every 6 months, we have to go through and recertify as a company and then all the scopes that we access. So we don't have to do any of that stuff with Microsoft. They just, if you get an API, if you have an authorization token for the API, you can do whatever you want with what their published API says. And Google is way different than that, because Google comes from a different ethos. They have the whole app marketplace for devices, for iPhones and Android OS and other stuff. And there's so much fraud there that, any developer that's working in their ecosystem, they're rabid about making sure that you're not a fraudster.
Got it. Well, Leon, great job as always. Really getting this, like I said, I'm very bullish on what you guys continue to do. It's fantastic. All right. Jim, anything before we jump into the rest of this piece of the equation for the day?
No, just super excited for that stuff to come out. And also thanks to all of you on this call, because again, your guidance and input helps Leron specifically and his team put all that together.
Great stuff. All right. So I got a few things for you in the last few minutes. Did a great cyber call this week. I didn't mean to come across arrogant. Bo did a great, you guys have seen Bo Bullock. If you have seen Bo before, he's absolutely phenomenal. He's done a lot of stuff with SaaS alerts. And we had him on. One of the things he talked about, and I asked Chip about this, and Chip hasn't seen this really come into our ecosystem yet. If I heard you correctly, Chip, but I'll ask you in a minute. But Bo is pretty emphatic, and I'll put the URL in here to watch it. It's about less than 2 minutes. And he calls it the new hotness in phishing techniques, which is device code logins, which is basically like you're watching TV and how you can, use it'll say, do you want to authenticate your YouTube account or whatever, and it gives you a code. Well, there's a similar concept in M365, and the threat actors, probably because he deals up market, Chip, he's starting to see this used quite often. So your thoughts, Chip, and I'll put these links in for everybody to watch this quick video here. And so why is it? Go ahead, Chip. Here.
Yeah, I mean, so one of the things that SaaS alerts picks up when there's a successful authentication is the authentication type, like how it occurs. Like, we'll see the MFA flow. We'll see when it's just a straight up token sign in, you get a message that says, MFA or second factor authentication satisfied by the grant in the token. We get the messages in the raw data, and we haven't seen this come across device code logins yet. I don't think many people know that they're available in Microsoft. It's pretty limited.
This is Steve.
Yeah, Steve.
Can we mute whoever is on a phone? Steve, hello.
I don't know if Steve was trying to jump in or not. And I mean, maybe we should just ask if everybody understands what we're talking about here, in terms of how these work. Like if you don't have a smart TV or some sort of device that you're connecting, your Hulu, your Paramount Plus account, or YouTube, then you may never have gone through this flow. But it's when you get the little screen share piece, pops up on your TV.
Yeah, and says,
you get a QR code to scan. It scans a QR code that takes your mobile phone to a website. You log in there, so you don't have to sit there with your remote. This is really so you don't have to sit there with the remote and spell out your username and password by clicking, through the little letterbox that's up on the screen. It makes that whole process much faster. And Microsoft has that exact same flow. I mean, it's identical in terms of how it works. It's a standard flow. There's nothing new that Microsoft has done to reinvent the wheel. So Bo and I were talking about this at Right to Boom. He brought it up to me then. He's like, "Are you seeing this yet?" And I'm like, "No, we're not." He's like, we think this is going to be the next big vector. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. If people start getting phishing emails with that QR code embedded right in it, And it's going to ask you to use an already trusted device. You've got Outlook on your phone that's already connected to your 365 account or your tablet, and you can actually scan that QR code and it will pick up your authorization from there and pass it right through. That's the way I would see this getting used in the end. Is you've already got your handy dandy trusted device, and all you have to do is allow that device to authenticate this new session for you, and you're done. And it's all about the social engineering of making it easier and easier for the person to fall through the booby trap.
Absolutely. Well, and I'm going to skip this, Chip, and go right to the Verizon, close us out in the last few minutes here with some summary of a Verizon data breach, because it's really what the data continues to suggest. Some interesting anomalies this year. And again, guys and gals, if you want to really get into the nitty gritty of it, this will be our third year having one of the principal authors on the cyber call. But if you really want to hear, like, probably, one of the biggest data sets on security breaches, it was 10,000 breaches this year that they analyzed. So you're talking about a massive data set. They will be on 2 Mondays from now. And no difference here. Good. Was there a question? Summary of findings in terms of enumeration, credentials still led the way, phishing, vol exploitation. Now, interestingly, I'm going to talk about vol exploitation in a minute, but just kind of to show you, in terms of the way in which the breaches occurred, still human element led, followed by ransomware and extortion. Ransomware still in 1/3 of all attacks. And then you can see the rest here. By the way, the first time in the Verizon data breach report, third-party applications were added as a threat vector, the supply chain. So this was a really interesting one here, Chip, is that, it seems, like credentials and phishing pretty much, credentials fell, phishing pretty much just stayed the same. But again, we're talking about a massive data set. So don't be misled that that's, not still the major, vector in which, TTP in which the threat actors are using, access brokers and, credentials to get in. What was really interesting, though, is that there's a 180% increase in exploited vulnerabilities this year. However, if you look at the report, I think this is very skewed, and I think this will change in 2025 unless we see another MOVEit or another C3X. If you recall those two big vulnerabilities, the threat actors, when MOVEit occurred, I mean, the amount of exploitation, if you remember, was astronomical. So I think this is where we got this big skewing of vulnerabilities this year, as far as the breaches.
Yeah, third-party software vulnerabilities.
Yes.
I mean, MOVEit makes sense, the volume, just because of what the product was designed to do.
Yeah. Yes. And so but it did lead to, like I said, there's this whole section this year on supply chain. And I made a comment on your ISO certification, because I think that's more and more important, because what's becoming clear is threat actors are using the supply chain more and more to go for a one-to-many. In terms of social engineering, I'll just wrap it up at the top of the hour here. Still pretexting led again this year, which I think was interesting. Still above phishing. So that means we, again, are just relying on, I think, Anne, you were saying this to start us off, that, hey, just do this. There's no URL, right? There's no, we're not asking you to click on anything. We're just literally telling you to go do something without any misdirection or anything. So really interesting how things continue to stay the same in many regards. So coming all the way back, the sum here of Jim and Chip is you guys are doing great stuff. This is where the puck is definitely continues to go, which is all around social engineering and web application attacks, which again, where is it real quick? Sorry guys. I thought I had it here.
Well, that was an interesting graphic.
Which one? This one?
School of Fishes.
School of Fish. Yeah, that was really fascinating. This was the bit of good news that organizations that are being diligent about security awareness training and phishing simulation, it is making a difference.
Yeah, the gap is widening.
Yep. So that was a bit of good news. But I was looking for, I thought I put in web app attacks, but web app attacks still lead the way, which is really M365 as the main area in which threat actors are looking to compromise.
Yeah, but that slide, the web app attacks is specifically the web application itself, right?
Right.
That's how I'm interpreting that.
Yeah.
You see SQL injection, denial of service, other exploit of vulnerability. Like that's the stuff that we worry about with our product and why we pursue ASVS level 3.
Correct.
Protect against this stuff.
Correct. But you can see the combination, right, of stolen credentials and just think of web app attacks like M365 Chip. The two go hand in hand, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Right. So, all right. I know we're a few minutes over. Really good stuff. Again, thank you, everybody, for staying a few minutes late. I know we lost some of the crowd, but looking forward to seeing everybody next week. Jim, you want anything to close us out?
Jim had to jump.
Oh, Jim had to jump. All right. Well, again, have an awesome week, everybody, and make it a great day.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you guys. Bye.